Continental Micronesia, Inc. was a company which was a wholly owned subsidiary of Continental Airlines. It operated daily flights to Honolulu, Hawaii, as well as international services to Asia, Micronesia and Australia from its base of operations at Antonio B.Won International Airport on Guam, U.S. territory in the western Pacific Ocean. During its final years, the airline, a Delaware corporation, was headquartered in the old terminal building at Won International Airport and in Tamuning, Guam. On December 22, 2010, as a result of the Continental United Airlines merger, the FAA approved the combination of Continental Micronesia's air carrier operations with Continental's under the Single Part 121 Operating Certificate of Continental. Although Continental Micronesia remained as a corporation, all flights were then operated directly by Continental Airlines. This step was intended to simplify future integration steps between Continental and United. The callsign ICAO and IATA codes were changed to reflect the new operating certificate. As of 2012, the Continental Micronesia employee group, now a subset of United Continental Holdings, had 1,222 employees. Code data. Continental Micronesia flights use the regular Continental CO code on ticketing systems and for frequent flyer benefit accounting, but used its ICAO code CMI and call sign Air Mic with air traffic control authorities. In airport terminals, Continental Micronesia flights were listed separately with its IATA code CS. During the final decade, 3 airports had both Air Mic and mainline Continental present: Hong Kong, Tokyo and Honolulu. History. The airline was established by Continental and other regional shareholders in the former U.S. Trust Territory and started operations on May 16, 1968, as Air Micronesia, hence the nickname and call sign Air Mic. Service was started with a Boeing 727-100 number 475, which was nicknamed Juju, and a Douglas DC-6. It also operated 2 Grumman's R-16, whose 16 Albatross amphibians to fly from Turok to Pohnpei, until an airfield could be built that could accommodate the 727. The 727's underside was coated with Teflon, due to it having to operate on coral runways. Additionally, the plane had to carry spare parts and a mechanic, as well as open water survival gear and onboard Doppler radar, then a rarity. The airline also operated Boeing 727-100 Combi aircraft models which were capable of transporting freight pallets on the main deck of the jetliner, just aft of the cockpit, in addition to passengers seated in the rear coach compartment. By 1983, Continental Micronesia was operating all passenger Boeing 727-100 and 727-200 aircraft, in addition to mixed passenger freight 727-100 Combi aircraft from its Guam hub. William H. Stewart of the Saipan Tribune stated that the airline's foundation, in particular, was probably the single most important factor in the future development of what were once remote and isolated islands in the Pacific. Stewart added that the jets distorted the traveler's impression of time and distance and brought the islands closer to major market areas in Asia. The airline had a virtual monopoly in the Micronesia region. In the 1970s, each district that the airline flew to had an entirely Micronesian employee base, with the exception of Saipan, which has the airline's headquarters. William H. Stewart of the Saipan Tribune said the airline was the only travel link many had with the world beyond the horizon. In the early 1980s, the airline started service from Guam to Japan. As Continental's share in roles in Air Mic changed, the airline's name became Continental Air Micronesia. Eventually, Continental owned 100% of Air Mic, which at one point provided the only scheduled service directly between Guam and any point in the 50 United States, although other airlines, notably Pan Am, Braniff International and South Pacific Island Airways, had attempted to provide non-stop service between Guam and Honolulu. Before being headquartered in Guam, Continental Micronesia was headquartered in Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands. As time passed, the airline's Saipan traffic decreased due to the breakup of the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, which was subdivided into smaller political units. Because of the breakup, fewer people needed to travel to Saipan, which was the capital of the Trust Territory. 2000 to 2009. By 2003, the Guam International Airport Authority moved commuter airlines out of Antonio B.Won Pat International Airport's commuter terminal and leased the entire facility to Continental. As of 2004, most of the airline's employees were Guam-based, due to the location of the corporate headquarters and the airline's main hub. By 2005, Continental Micronesia's business on the island of Saipan had decreased, prompting layoffs in Saipan. As of January 2008, Continental Micronesia employed 1,500 people and was Guam's largest private sector employer. It operated 236 departures each week between 23 cities. Massachusetts-based Cape Air began services in the Mariana Islands under the Continental Connection banner on July 1, 2004. Soon afterward, Continental Micronesia eliminated most jet services to Saipan in favor of Cape Air's smaller-sized aircraft and increased frequency. In 2008, Continental Micronesia generated profits. Chad Blair of the Pacific Business News said that the airline did so because it nurtured its niche Guam-Honolulu route. In addition, Japanese tourists wanting to save money decided to travel to locations closer to Japan for vacation, so Continental Micronesia gained Japanese passengers. As of that year, the airline's annual payroll in Guam was $90 million. A Houston Chronicle article in May 2008 stated that expected subsequent military build-up and population growth could lead to an expansion of Continental Micronesia flights to and from Guam. However, on June 12, 2008, Continental's announcement of cuts of services, routes and destinations due to high fuel prices included termination of flights to Hong Kong and Bali. Also among the cuts is the termination of the Saipan-Manila flights on July 15, which is the last remaining Air Mic flight for Saipan, the airline's original hub 40 years ago. According to Jamie R. Vergara of the Saipan Tribune, the declared reason for the cancellation of the Saipan-Manila route was the fact that NCLEX tests were now available in Manila, so Filipino nurses no longer had to travel to Saipan to take the test. Before the flight's cancellation, the flight also served medical referrals from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands to Manila and non-USA visa alien contract workers, who were unable to transit to the final destinations via Guam. Vergara said that the alien workers, particularly, were Air Micronesia's captive audience. With only Continental Connection Cape Air services left, Continental closed its Saipan City ticket office on the same day, 2010 and beyond. The United Continental merger resulted in the elimination of Continental Micronesia's operating certificate as the new entity worked towards a single operating certificate. The combination of Continental Micronesia's operating certificate into Continental's was approved on December 22, 2010. Destinations. Beside providing transportation within Micronesia and between the region and the United States, Continental Micronesia flew to cities in Japan and other Pacific Rim destinations. The airline flew to 9 Japanese cities, more than any other U.S. carrier. The airline also operated a 5-stop island hopper route between Honolulu and Guam. The 4,300-mile route had an average duration of 14 hours and 10 minutes. Due to the special requirements of the route, each aircraft flying on this route houses an extra pilot, an extra flight attendant, a mechanic, and extra spare parts in case of a mechanical failure. Historically, the airline received little competition on the island hopper route. Continental Micronesia provided the only scheduled jet service in the Federated States of Micronesia and Majuro, Marshall Islands. The airline's route network linked to the network of its parent company at Honolulu, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Houston, and Newark. Due to small island populations and the corresponding amount of passenger traffic, many of Continental Micronesia's routes were flown less than daily. The only routes with daily flights were between Guam and Fukuoka, Honolulu, Manila, Nagoya, Palau, and Tokyo. Fleet. As of early 2010, Continental Micronesia operated 12 Boeing 737 and 4 Boeing 767-400 aircraft from Antonio B.Won Pat International Airport on Guam. The aircraft were all owned by Continental Airlines and were rotated to Continental Micronesia. Former fleet Boeing 747, Douglas DC-10, Boeing 727 includes all passenger Boeing 727-100 and 727-200 aircraft, as well as Boeing 727-100 mixed passenger freight combi aircraft. Boeing 757. Accidents and incidents. On November 21, 1980, Air Micronesia Flight 614, operated by a Boeing 727-100C registered N18479, crashed while landing at Yap International Airport on the island of Yap in Micronesia. The aircraft landed heavily 13 feet short of the airport's runway and the right landing gear was torn off. The Boeing 727 then slid along the runway, gradually veering off the side into the jungle. It stopped about 1,700 feet from the touchdown point and a fire broke out which destroyed the aircraft. All of the 67 passengers and 6 crew members on board evacuated the burning aircraft and survived the accident.